Looks like I forgot to enable studio mode, and as a result, you already got to see me clicking around. Anyway, yeah, like had some issues, couldn't access my Google account for some reason, quite annoying, but yeah, now it works. And we're live, so hello and welcome to another stream with me, Christian Rauchenwald, on this beautiful, what do we have, Tuesday. And I've arranged some windows somewhere so that I can actually see everything properly, and then we actually are pretty much good to go. Today's topic of our Let's Talk About stream is going to be PlanetWatch. So for those of you that don't know the project, it's about like collecting air quality data and then basically rewarding you in crypto for sharing that air quality data. And yeah, it's been a rough patch for PlanetWatch. Chat overlay should technically work. It just worked a second ago. It's hidden. Yeah, it should work here. And yeah, hi Abu Bakr. Okay, that's not so hard to pronounce. And yeah, let's start off probably by taking a walk down memory lane by looking at the not PlanetWatch website, but by actually looking at the price of the Planet token and how it developed. And we're going to cover a little bit of the background, and then we're going to, I guess, finish it by looking into the future. So what PlanetWatch has planned and so on. So to hopefully give you guys all an idea of like what to expect from PlanetWatch. As always, since it's a Let's Talk About, if you have any questions about PlanetWatch, and then just go ahead and ask them. I'll do my best to answer them if I can. Yeah. If we look at the price history of PlanetWatch, we can see that they actually had quite an amazing start, starting off at around 10 cents per planet. That's the token, or planets. Yeah. And then relatively quickly going up to, as we can see here, 40 cents. I mean, yeah, not that quickly, then dumping again to the 30-cent area. We've been here for quite some time. Then we reached the all-time high of 47 cents, and since then it's just been a dumpster fire and been basically just, yeah, like going down the drain. With now we are, as you can see, below 1 cent. So it's an incredible loss. You can see that it's 99.2% from the all-time high. The all-time high was last year in November, so it's 11 months since we were here, and since then we almost lost 100%, almost, because the tokens are still worth something, although not that much, and as a result the earnings are also lower. Yeah, we'll also need the PlanetWatch Explorer, so 1 second, so to give you guys all an idea. So one thing important to know about PlanetWatch is, if you have no idea so far, there are 4 different kinds of sensors. So you see here that it says type 1 tier 1, type 1 tier 2, type 2, type 3, type 4. Yeah. So as you can see, type 1 and type 2 also split up into 2 different tiers. But the important part is there are 4 different sensors. Type 1 would be basically high quality outdoor sensors. Type 2 should also be, I think it's also outdoor. I mean, would have to look it up. Type 3 would be indoor sensors, and type 4 is technically wearables. Yeah. You can also see here, when we look at the number of sensors, that there's a big number of type 4 sensors and relatively small numbers of type 1, 2, and 3 sensors, although most of those type 4 sensors are not active anymore. And that's kind of like the crux here. So for that, we're going to need the regular PlanetWatch website now. But before we get to that, and why do those sensor types matter? Because the earnings, so how much you can earn per day maximum, vary depending on which sensor you have, and if you have a type 1 or type 2 sensor, also if your sensor is the lead sensor or if it's the backup sensor. Yeah, and that's important because there are like different pools for the reward. So there's a different amount of rewards for type 1 sensors, type 2 sensors, type 3, type 4. So not like different in that you get more or less, but also different in terms of, there is like, let's say 100 planets per day for type 1 sensors, but only 50 planets per day for type 4 sensors. Yeah, that's not the accurate number. It's just a random number. The accurate number is in the white paper, and I don't recall it by heart. It's also not that important, to be honest. But it matters in the way that if there are only 174 type 2 sensors, they always will have their maximum daily earnings until the number keeps increasing, and then amount of coins distributed by day divided by number of sensors doesn't reach the maximum anymore. That's where another part comes into place, and that's the so-called recycle bin here that has a total of 302 million planets in it, which is important because whenever the type 4 sensors when type 4 sensors were at the time where they were all active, that type 4 recycling bin was actually already empty because there were more sensors, so they would not be able to earn the maximum daily anymore. So the difference is covered from the recycle bin until it's empty. In a time where there are less type 4 sensors active, like right now, we're going to cover the why and so on as well. There's basically an excess, which means last day or last 24 hours, there were 200,000 planets that didn't get distributed, so they end up filling up the recycling bin. And you can see the same happens here with type 1, type 2, and type 3 apparently doesn't have a recycle bin, or it's empty. Yeah, I would have to check if like type 3 rewards with 17,000 sensors is already used up or not. Really not that relevant, to be honest. Yeah, like for the purpose of this stream. So, but you get the idea. So there's like a certain amount of, just like in Helium network, for example, where every day or every month or every quarter or every period of time, there's a certain amount of crypto that's going to be distributed in rewards. Yeah, like in Helium network, it depends on how much you beacon and witness. With the PlanetWatch, it depends on how many data streams your air quality sensor submits. And if it's online 24/7 and has a reliable connection, then it will submit the exact amount like your neighbor sensor if it's also online 24/7, for example. And as a result, you end up with the same earnings. Now, earnings, so there's an amount defined that's distributed every day among all type 4 sensors, type 2 sensors, type 1 sensors, type 3 sensors, and a maximum that you can earn per day. Like, for example, for the type 4 sensors, the maximum that you can get per day is 23.01, if I recall it correctly. So planets per day, which obviously at less than a cent, it means that basically you get around 23 cents per day, or less than 23 cents per day. So probably 15 cents per day right now, which is obviously not a lot. However, if we quickly use a calculator and say 15 cents per day times 365, it's still $55 per year, even at the current crappy value. Yeah. Now, obviously, when there are more sensors, so in Helium, for example, more sensors get onboarded and people get less and less rewards. And early adopters got a shitload in rewards, which is currently something that pisses a few people off. Yeah, PlanetWatch solved that better because they put a maximum on how much you can earn with a sensor per day. So initially, when there were only a few sensors, it wasn't that one sensor earned thousands of dollars per day, but they still only in quotes earned their 23 point something Helium with the Type 4 sensor. And as a result, even at 50 cents per coin or so, it was around $10 per day with at the all-time high. Yeah. So while all the excess just goes into the recycle bin, so that people that joined later also could enjoy the maximum rewards for a longer period of time. So that's something that PlanetWatch did very well. Yeah. Now, over time, there were a huge increase in Type 4 sensors, mostly because of a company called Aware, and their sensors are called Element. So Aware Element, blah, blah, blah. So they are that one. That initially launched at $150 or $149 in the US and £199 in Europe. And once it got approved for PlanetWatch, so that device is no longer supported by PlanetWatch, just so you know. But once it got approved by PlanetWatch, it took like a week or two for Aware to double the price to $300 in the US and £300 in the UK and Europe. And basically, they sold a shitload of those sensors. That's why we have that huge number here, because many of them are Aware elements. And then at some point, Aware refused to further deliver the data streams to PlanetWatch and wanted them to pay additional money for the data delivery. Yeah. There's a back and forth. In my opinion, it's 100% Aware's fault and not PlanetWatch's, but yeah, one can argue about that. Doesn't change a thing. But the point is, eventually PlanetWatch decided, okay, we're going to make the decision. Aware sensors are not supported anymore. So there's like a ton of people that have Aware element sensors that are not using them anymore. Irina and I, for example, we have a total of 5 Aware element sensors that are pretty much just paperweights now, or we use one in the living room here and one in the office to measure the air quality. But besides that, they are like paperweights now. So, and just to give you an idea, I mean, by now it might be better already, but aware element, yeah, we are. So it's already yeah. When I checked the last time when I made a video about the update or so, the lowest offer I could find was like literally $20 or $30 for a device that's actually $300 when you buy it new. I don't know why people are trying to sell it here for way more than what it actually costs when you buy it new, since it's currently useless for PlanetWatch. However, for those of you tuning in that also have an aware element, you might want to check out Pi-Fi. I mean, there have been like a few projects that look into not fraternity for women, yeah, like, but air quality. Not sure what is Pi-Fi, AirPi, what is this? AirPi. Okay, maybe Irina can share the link to Pi-Fi because I don't find it on Google right now. Or was it Phi-Pi? Maybe I mix it up, yeah, so try it the other way. Phi-Pi. Nope. Yeah, anyway, so there's a new project out there. They're in a very early stage, so there's like no guarantee that it will bring anything or so, but they're basically also using a similar approach to PlanetWatch does. It's in the PlanetWatch Discord channel, yeah, so there you should find the link, yeah, and among one of the last couple of messages, hopefully, and if not, it's okay, yeah. Anyway, so guys, if Irina cannot find the link, then you might have to join our Discord community to get it there. Anyway, so the new project follows a similar approach, and they will also offer aware support for aware element sensors, yeah. But they basically grab the data themselves from the aware sensor, and instead of just having the sensor, like with PlanetWatch, you just have the sensor and maybe an app, and then the app forwards the data or the sensor forwards the data directly. With Pi-Fi or Phi-Pi, again, I'm like not 100% sure which variation it is right now, it actually requires you to have another device, and that would be like a Raspberry Pi, for example. And yeah, and then that Raspberry Pi basically grabs the data from your air quality sensor, which could be the aware element, but there are also other supported sensors, and again, then would share it and would theoretically give you a reward. But again, that project is in a very early stage. Yeah, what's worth mentioning about PlanetWatch, when you want to join or when you want to use your air quality sensor to share data with PlanetWatch, first of all, you would have to check the supported sensors because there are not that many, so you cannot just show up with any sensor. You can see on the PlanetWatch website the list of devices. So there is the Aquino Type 1 sensor. That one is discontinued, so the Type 2 sensor. There is a Type 3 premium indoor sensor that looks like this, yeah. And then there is the AtmoTube Pro, which is the currently only supported Type 4 sensor. However, it requires you to basically have your phone connected or a tablet connected and the PlanetWatch app running 24/7 in the foreground to actually share the data and get rewards. But it's currently the only option to get your $55 or $55 worth of rewards from your Type 4 sensor per year at the current price. Yeah, so far so good. And yeah, so you would have to check the sensor, but on top of the sensors, you would also need a license, and that's kind of like the crux of the whole thing, because if we look for a Type 4 sensor, for example, you could get a 1-year license for €35, but on the other hand, right now at the low value, you only would earn $55, so yeah, like a little bit more. So like €20 profit per year. That's not considering the electricity for the AtmoTube Pro and for having your phone run 24/7, which isn't much, but it pretty much makes it like not worth the effort. You can, however, also get it cheaper, and that would be if you use tinyman.org should be it, yeah. And there. Yeah, go Tinyman. There, if we look in analytics and search for PV credit, unverified, so you would have to uncheck that box. You can see that there's a liquidity pool where you can trade algo yeah, USDC is empty, but Algo or Planets for PW credits. And the point is that 100 credits are basically worth $100 in the PlanetWatch store. So you could get the, as you can see here, do we see a price here for planets, PV credits? Okay, let's check here. Blah, 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 volume. No, that's also just assets. These assets. Okay, swap. So if we say 100 planets, you get, yeah, that's like rough. Actually, let's check that to USDC. Yeah, available liquidity. Yeah. Yeah, as you can see, I mean, I might have done it wrong right now, but basically 100 PW credits would be half a cent right now. Yeah, so which, yeah, should be that Pi-Fi network. Thank you. And which basically means that, I mean, again, that might be wrong right now because we're comparing with USDC where the liquidity pool is next to empty. Yeah, but basically you can get 100 PW credits for less than the 35 euro, and the 100 PW credits you can use to buy a voucher in the PlanetWatch Explorer. So once you create your account and log in, you can then buy a voucher, and then basically you can just go for a 3-year license, which would cost 70 euro, but in the end you would have paid like 20, 30, worst case 40 euro for a 3-year license in comparison to paying 35 for just a 1-year license. Still, Hayakashi, great to have you here. Doesn't make it a great equation right now. Yeah. So the thing here is, like, PlanetWatch had a great start. People jumped to buy sensors and licenses and so on. And for some of those things, especially for the licenses, they had to buy planets, which drove up the value. And eventually it stagnated a little bit, then it went up a little bit further. And then we had the aware element crisis, where then people started to dump all their planets every chance they got because they lost trust in the project, because they couldn't earn, they just spent $300 on a sensor or maybe more because they bought more than one. And then suddenly, before they even got the sensor delivered from Aware, which is again also not PlanetWatch's fault, they are told that it will not earn them anything anymore. And then Aware kept fucking around with not accepting refunds or returns or offering refunds and returns and so on. And PlanetWatch also came up with their own solution, which I made a video about, in terms of offering refund for the licenses, which people were not happy about. Although, in my opinion, I think that PlanetWatch wasn't even obliged to do anything in that case, but that's my opinion. So anyway, and as a result, we now have a crappy low token value of less than half a cent. We have, again, like type 4 recycle bin that's filling up every day because there are only a fraction of those sensors actually active. And as a result, obviously, there is right now a chance to basically earn the maximum. So if you have an Atmo 2 Pro, or if you get a type 2 or type 1 sensor, those have waiting times. The Atmo Tube you can get pretty much all the time, yeah. Although type 1 sensors have higher earnings and so on, but also a way higher price tag. So an Atmo Tube should be around $200 to $300 if you buy it on eBay or new, whereas type 1 sensor should be close to 2,000 euro. So there's obviously a difference in price for the sensor and also in how many tokens they earn per day or can earn per day. However, you can also see that the type 1 recycle bin already is now losing 300,000 planets per day. And once it gets empty, it means then each type 1 sensor will earn a little bit less because, again, there's only a certain amount of planets distributed per day, yeah, for type 1 sensors, for type 2 sensors, and so on, yeah. And yeah, so it really comes down to, we are running our Atmo Tube Pro still because it's kind of like it doesn't cost a lot, and if in the end PlanetWatch manages to turn around, then it's going to be like eventually worth way more than what it is now. So getting the 23 planets per day, which is 23 times 365, so around 8,300, or not around, but 8,395 planets in a year. So there is the chance that they actually, yeah, turn the ship around and actually increase in value again. Yeah. One important point that I didn't mention before, and it's also worth mentioning, is that whenever PlanetWatch is able to sell air quality data, so whenever somebody buys the data from PlanetWatch, part of that revenue actually is used to buy planets and put it into the recycling bin where the data is coming from. So if somebody buys type 1 data, then part of the revenue is used to again buy type 1 buy planets, and ends up slowly filling up the type 1 recycle bin. If somebody were to buy type 4 data, it fills up the type 4 bin slowly again, and so on. So there is also a solution there that should, in the long run, assuming that PlanetWatch is able to attract companies, organizations, governments that buy the air quality data, it should in the long run lead to a reasonably stable value. I'm not saying that it will go back to 40 something cents, yeah, but that's the real challenge right now. And basically, I mean, at least in the last update, they shared a few of the things like, okay, where we stand today, blah, 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 roadmap. Somebody already mentioned that they have some case studies, technology, business development. Yeah, so that's about sensor coverage in terms of type 1 sensors and how much more coverage they offer in certain cities, for example, than the government. So for example, in Munich here in Germany, there are apparently only 2 air quality sensors run by the government, but 70 from PlanetWatch, which means they obviously have a way more accurate air quality measurement across the whole area of Munich. And therefore, if done right, they might get whatever, like a government contract or somebody else to basically buy the data from them consistently, which would in this case only help the type 1 sensor, because like, yeah, type 4 sensors are usually indoor sensors. So there it's a little bit harder to actually get people to buy, but it doesn't matter as long as for any of the sensors or sensor data there are customers, it would actually help slowly increase the price of, or the value of Planet tokens, which again is the gamble that people currently make by still operating their sensors. Yeah. Yeah. So can't find it right now here in the text. I read it the last time. But basically they have a few use cases, but it's not enough yet to have any noticeable impact. There were a few data sales, and they basically already put some of the planets into the recycling bins because of that again. But again, it's not enough to have an impact on the price, considering that there are many people lost the belief in the project. Yeah, and that's bad. That doesn't mean that it's over, especially as long as the type 1, type 2, type 3 sensors are still online, and as long as people that have an AtmoTube Pro also keep that online, because it means there's air quality data being collected, which gives PlanetWatch the chance to actually work on finding solutions to sell it. Yeah. Now, as far as the roadmap goes, so like real quick, so basically there you can see that they are working or already working on their data sales API, so that there is like an interface allowing people to actually buy the data, and they are working and planning to onboard new type 2 and type 4 sensors, which might be interesting, but considering that, yeah, like basically most influencers, you know, like they are first hyping something, buy, and when it then like has some hiccups or so, they're instantly, oh, it's such a garbage, whatever, yeah. And so it's going to be hard to get tractions for new sensor types, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, it's great that they're still looking for new sensors. If they onboard a sensor that's already on the market, it would actually be great, because if they then come up with a solution where existing sensor owners wouldn't have to buy a sensor, but just have to buy a cheap license and can join the project, it would also make it easier. If they come up with a new sensor that you would have to buy, and then you have to buy the license, well, it will be much harder. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're mentioning that they're negotiating with high-profile proof of coverage, in quotes, so POC clients. Yeah. So at least in Helium, POC is proof of coverage, but basically talking about selling data in that case. Yeah. There are votes going on. I mean, I talked about the last vote. I'm actually not happy with it. It was a vote that means that in the future, not only sensor owners will be able to vote, but everybody that has planets, which in my opinion is a very, very bad idea, because as a sensor operator, I want PlanetWatch to have a long-term high value because I'm earning planets for free in quotes every day. Whereas if I'm just an investor and I would, I don't know, take $100,000 or $1 million that I don't have to buy planets, then all I care about is to how can I drive up the price as fast as possible, sell and make my profit. Yeah, so I wouldn't be interested in decisions that would help the project long term, but I would only focus on the short term decisions. So I'm personally a little bit offended by that vote, but on the other hand, it's probably also one of the only ways that ensures that investors are interested in PlanetWatch, because they know that with the more they invest, the bigger a portion of the supply they hold, the more they can influence which way the project goes and maybe drive up the price short term, which again is not what I'm in it for. I feel like either the project busts completely and the planets that I have turn into worthless tokens on the blockchain, okay, or they turn the ship around and it should slowly over time increase in value. But yeah, like that vote went through, so we'll see what good that does. And and then other things that are planned for actually for later this year are basically proof of coverage in Miami, in Italy, indoor sensors, and then some map metrics, whatever that is. But basically more projects where air quality data will be used, not just collected, but actually used for something. And yeah, so, but that's, I think, pretty much it. So there's like, yeah, there's, I don't know, it's been a rough journey with PlanetWatch, so kind of like up and down, or like up and then down, yeah. But I wouldn't discount the project completely just yet. I mean, they should still have some money on their accounts from the initial rush, or when the project was like doing very well, and therefore be able to weather the storm and the bear market. And with the vote that allows, basically, depending on how much you hold, you're allowed to vote now. So should be easier able to attract new investors. And the goal of the project still is, in my opinion, worthwhile. So collect air quality data to give us a better picture of how bad it is on the planet, in which areas it's bad, and maybe incentivize more people to do something about it, like, I don't know, drive less with their car or plant more trees or whatever it is. Yeah? The big challenge, and it's the challenge since day one, is finding customers that consistently buy air quality data. So that's going to be the only big challenge. It's not that since their launch nothing happened, but it's since their launch originally they also had to spend the time to even create a method to extract the data people want to buy from the blockchain data again. And yeah, and basically they're making progress there. So I don't know, it's either, I think 2023 will be the year for PlanetWatch where we either see it completely bust. The value cannot drop that much lower. It's already at below a cent, so it doesn't make much of a difference if it falls a little further. Or where they are able to basically, attract interest in the data quality and or in the data sets, and therefore we will or could see the price of planets slowly increase again. Yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, Akashi. Yeah. Well, the main man is like, yeah, it's a little bit, I think he's moved on from PlanetWatch because he was also annoyed by the aware element handling and so on, yeah. Perfectly fine. And I think Aaron still runs his Atmo 2 Pro, but he's not focused on PlanetWatch either anymore, but is focused more on WeatherXM, which is another very promising project in my opinion. That's more about real-time weather data than it is about air quality. But yeah, so it's, before I forgot to mention it, so today I think it's one of the first times that we managed to stream almost in time, so since there are no questions and so on, but before I forget to mention it, because we are downsizing the number of projects that we cover, it doesn't make much sense anymore to have this Tuesday Let's Talk About streams, because, if we focus, for example, on 3 projects in the 1 click a day category, it's more than enough time for us to also relatively quickly record a video when there's an important update in a project, so don't have to have a weekly live to deal with things like that anymore. However, we will introduce a monthly live instead, so instead of every week it will be once per month now. Not sure if it will be Tuesday and on which date, we're still working on that, and that will then be to review new projects. So basically, while we picked a set of projects that we're going to focus on, we still want to make sure that we don't miss promising new projects. And who knows, maybe even at some point, one of the new projects is more promising than one of the core projects that we're focusing on and replaces it. So, but yeah, so there will be an announcement in the community tab or probably on Discord on both in the next couple of weeks, where we'll share basically when exactly those streams will happen and how people can submit which projects they want to have reviewed. And then basically we're going to use those live streams, but I'm probably then going to stream them from my computer in the office to make it easier to, look through white papers and stuff like that. And we're basically going to review the projects live on stream, so without prior preparation, in quotes. So you basically see what I'm looking for when I'm checking out a project, and based on that, then you are able to already make a better decision if it's legit or not. Yeah. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for today. Akashi, thanks for tuning in, and Abu Bakr, thanks for tuning in, and whoever else was lurking, thanks for tuning in. I hope you all have a pleasant evening. Don't forget, on Thursday we have our gaming stream where I continue in Batman Arkham Knight as well as I can. And yeah, besides that, have a great day and see you all soon. Until